So in terms of topic 023, which is the significant ecological areas and vegetation management, staff considered that all of the recommendations of the panel are very much in line with the council's case team, with one exception. That's the recommendation that the panel has made to delete significant ecological areas from special purpose quarry zones. The reasoning they've given there is that by mapping an SEA on top of a quarry zone, we actually create competing planning considerations. And because the fact in Auckland, quarries are regionally significant infrastructure in terms of addressing the needs of Auckland for quarried material, they believed it was best to remove the SEAs. They did note, and also staff have noted, that there are still general vegetation management rules that will apply to the quarry zone. They will just not have the higher level SEA management rules applying to them.
Very happy to move that.
Right, Councillor Penny.
I have a question.
And is there a seconder? Councillor Callan. Councillor Wayne.
Yes, just have a question. Given that quarrying is an interim activity, it's extractive, you have the quarry's gone, and then there's a need for reinstatement. We have a number of instances where you've got quarries that are directly adjacent to special ecological areas, and quite obviously it's desirable for the quarry to be reinstated so that nature goes back. Would not retaining the SEA status be a better enabler so that that happens rather than dispensing with it?
So in terms of if an SEA overlay is applied over a quarry zone, that would mean that every time the quarry wished to shift the quarry face, they would need to go for consent to actually do works in an SEA. The panel's view and the staff support that is that that's not very efficient use of either the quarry operator's time or of consenting staff to be constantly doing that consenting process. There are rules in the quarry zone that require reinstatement of quarries and to have a quarry management plan to do that. The fact that there might be an adjoining SEA would at that time, obviously bring a conversation about the level of reinstatement of vegetation and the quality and type. So I think that's covered in the management plan requirement.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Any other questions?
Just in terms of that, I mean, if an example is Waitakere Quarry, which is being reinstated at the moment, and because they have a plan, and it is next to in a very
SEA.
Yeah. Thank you.
Come on.
What that means is the community are very heavily involved, and I would expect that would be happening in every area. As we know, the interest in other quarry sites. So I'm really comfortable with this, that it provides practical rules so people can get on with the job that the area is zoned for, but then once you've got the reinstatement, there's specific plans in place. I'm
Very
happy
good.
to move it, Mr. Chair. Oh, it's been moved.
It's been moved. And Councillor Penny H. You're okay?
Most of it's been answered. I guess the presumption is that once the reinstatement happens, an SEA could be placed over that area.
Yep.
Well, I think the work that our ecologists have done is to set up a very robust assessment criteria for SEAs. So they would obviously need to make sure that what had been replaced was at the stage you could declare it as an SEA. So it might be a number of years while the vegetation took hold and grew before they would do that assessment. But yes, one would expect over time that you could include that into the SEA.
Okay, and just a supplementary question, because I think, as Councillor Cooper has said, there are some very sensitive areas that are also quarries, and I'm reassured through this and remembering the long debates we had that we are not, the SEAs are not being used as a quasi-management tool for controlling the edges of the quarry, that we have robust methods to do that. So it's a duplication issue. Thank you.
Very good. I'll move that. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Thank you. Right, move on now to item 5.5. Scheduling of historic heritage.
Right, thank you, Mr Mayor. So,
Done.
two main policy shifts here, as described in the agenda report on page 18 and 19. The first one is, and both generally positive for heritage protection. The first one is the elevation in status of the Karangahape Road special character area to a historic heritage area. So the panel feels that Karangahape Road stacks up as a historic heritage area with more restrictive...
Hang on a minute. There's a huge uproar in the public gallery at the moment.
We like K Road.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
in
wait.
practice, what it means is more restrictive controls on demolition of buildings on K Road. So
Do I
that's
have a
part
mover? Do I have a mover?
We'll all move.
Wayne, you can't move it. You're not sitting down. Councillor Arthur? And a seconder, Councillor Christine. All right. Any other? Councillor Cathy?
This is actually the resolution where you have kept your promise to the National Council of Women of New Zealand.
Did I?
This is the actual resolution that schedules the Auckland Women's Suffrage Memorial in Cartoon Place. So congratulations to the Mayor, you kept your promise.
Thank God.
August achievements. Put it in
Thanks,
the August
someone or other.
achievements.
Okay, very good.
Make sure those words are
Thank you,
recorded.
Kathy.
Nominations
I
are still
better move
open.
it.
Nominations are still open, Mr Mayor.
Celebrating women getting the
Oh,
vote.
God.
51% of the
Don't be
vote
holding
right
your breath
there.
there, Cam. Don't be holding your breath, mate. Okay, so, God, I'm so excited about that I've forgotten where the hell we are. Have we got a mover?
Yes.
Councillor Arthur and Councillor Christine. All right, any other comments? No. Move that. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, passed. Move on to item B on page 19.
Right, so extensive submissions and evidence on the historic heritage schedules in the unitary plan. So the panel has recommended adding an additional 120 places, 60 of which were supported by the council in that they really form part of a plan change that hadn't quite caught up with the unitary plan process, and then an additional 60 nominated by submitters, mainly Heritage New Zealand. The panel has recommended that 14 places are deleted, and that's off the back of submitters. So that's a net increase in 104 properties. So we've listed on page 20 of the agenda on the left-hand column council-owned properties that are affected by the panel's recommendation to add new places to the schedule. Council supported all of these buildings being added during the course of the hearings. And in terms of the deletion, sorry, these are to be added. Left-hand column. These are council properties to be added.
Okay.
And the right-hand column is the list of the 14 places out of a total of roughly 3,000 that the panel has concluded should be removed from the unitary plan. Now, unfortunately, we're moving a little bit faster than we anticipated, so our heritage experts aren't here to answer specific questions. We do have Noel.
Oh, no, you're not going to hide behind that excuse at all.
So maybe if there are specific questions around the properties to be added or deleted, we may have to come back to you on that, unfortunately.
So, was Noel serious about the fact that he didn't have the answer to that? It's the first time we've ever heard that from him.
So it will depend on which property you're interested in.
Civic Administration Building.
Why don't you go and sit up there in the prime seat, Noel? So we can see you better.
St Mary's on the road. I went to school there. I mean, it's got to be hysterical. I mean, historic.
Okay. Are there questions of Noel?
Good little Catholic.
We've got two schedules there. Councillor Ross.
Which ones on the schedule of deleted are arguably marginal that maybe should be reconsidered, and the Rainbow Warrior site, not as though we're going to box it off, but wouldn't we just have that as a recognised area, that this is where it was, with plaques, etc., etc.?
I think with the Rainbow Warrior, that's exactly, if the council wanted to recognise the value of that site, there are ways of doing that other than scheduling. Scheduling would have no real impact upon the site. So I tend to agree with you there. All the ones that were deleted, almost without exception, the reason were planning reasons, i.e. the buildings were not in very good condition, they had already prior consent to demolish, or that in weighing up the scheduling versus the growth issue won. So all of them were arguable. So
The Simon Street Flats.
Simon Street Flats was the surprise. That was a Category A, has been for a long time. The Housing New Zealand presented evidence on its condition, which the panel accepted that it meant that they could not be, that the renovation of those flats was not a reasonable cost to impose upon the landowner.
The retention of the facade?
The evidence of council and Housing New Zealand, was that part of the buildings could be retained, but the panel has chosen not to retain any of it based on the evidence.
It's quite an historic area. Does that, removing even the facade, or not retaining the facade, I should say, what does that leave? A lot? Much?
No, nothing.
Nothing.
The buildings can go.
What does it leave around it as a precinct?
Auckland.
Last question.
Sorry, I'm not that familiar with the surrounding buildings.
I can comment that there are several other scheduled buildings. There is the church next to the university there. There are a couple on the other side of the road. There isn't a heritage precinct per se, but there are individual places in that area still in the unitary plan.
Okay.
Right. Councillor Mike.
Mr Mayor, I recall the afternoon when the Rainbow Warrior went into the ARC, RPS I think it was, and to be honest with you, I never quite understood the subtleties of what we were actually protecting. But in terms of other more tangible built heritage, the Simon Street Flats, I believe, are a classic example of something that should be protected. It is not. There's not a struggling private owner that we're asking to protect this building. It is the state, and they have an obligation under the Resource Management Act in terms of historic heritage to protect it. It's no point in saying, oh, it's going to cost us a bit to do it up. I think that we should hold our ground on this one in particular, and put that back into the schedule. I see no serious reason why the Simon Street Flats, wonderful Art Deco flats, should be taken out, and I think we should make a fight of it.
Right. Councillor Christine. Oh, it's a bit of head shaking and head nodding. Councillor Christine.
Thank you. My question to Noel relates to 6.18 on page 33 on the topic on the AHP report, and that is Woodward Road and the panel's sympathy to the issue as presented by Sir Harold Marshall, but the time frame. Could you comment further on that issue? Because Woodward Road as a historic heritage area was one that I thought would have met the criteria.
Sorry, I don't know that one specifically. I would imagine there wasn't enough evidence presented to the panel to justify the inclusion of those areas as historic character or special character. Because where there was enough evidence presented, by and large, the panel has accepted them.
Right. Thank you. Question asked and answered. Now, councillors, what I'm prepared to do is this one. I'm just about ready to call a break, but why don't we, I need a mover and a seconder.
I'm
just
happy
wanted to
to
bring
move.
something
I'm
up.
happy to move as long
Yeah,
as
I'm gonna
we
stand
park up
apart.
Simon Street.
I'm going to stand apart Simon Street, and I'm going to move the rest of
So
it.
civic administration, please. I'm sorry, it's quite pertinent to us.
It's okay. Just let it go.
Full of asbestos.
I'm going to have, I really want to just sort of focus on what we
I'm
can.
seconding.
Yep, you second that? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to have a vote on the overarching. I'm going to stand aside for separate votes, civic administration and Simon Street Flats. Yep.
Can I just ask a question about Onehunga Wharf?
Yeah.
Yes.
That might be just,
Why are we doing that?
Porter, please. Yep.
so
Wanna ask
just
a
a point
question?
of
Yeah, go.
clarification, is this the
Yeah,
the
yep,
time?
yep.
Okay. So can I just, the category B status is enabling of adaptive use. Can I just get some assurance that, in terms of Panuku's intentions for purchase from Ports of Auckland, that this is landing in the right place? We had a position, the OHP has adopted something else, and now we're agreeing with that. It is, what we're landing at here is enabling adaptive use for the future.
Yes,